Something interesting is happening in our neighborhood. Afghanistan is quickly pulling away from Pakistan and moving closer to India. And the bridge between them is turning out to be Chabahar. This new trade route is changing old equations fast, and it is turning out to be Pakistan's nightmare playing out in real time. So what is happening? This is Shubhangi Sharma and you're watching Fine Point. Let's dive in. Over the past 3 months, there have been a series of high-level Taliban visits to India which have signaled a dramatic shift in the subcontinent's geopolitical map. First came acting Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi's visit, then acting Commerce Minister Nooruddin Azizi came to India. Both arrived with the same message: Afghanistan wants more trade with India and less reliance on Pakistan. On November 22nd, Azizi landed in New Delhi for a 5-day visit with a large business delegation. And what he said across multiple meetings has been revealing. In a nutshell, Kabul's message was simple. Pakistan's trade routes are unreliable, Kabul wants more trade and more investments from India, and it is willing to offer incentives and security to Indian investors to make that happen. In an interview with News 18, he said, "We request the government of India to restore the political, trade and cultural relationship that once existed between our two countries." And his agenda was straightforward. Expand trade with India, scale up use of Iran's Chabahar port, set up dry ports in Nimroz, and activate cargo flights from Delhi and Amritsar to Kabul and seek out Indian investments. Indian officials confirmed activation of air freight corridors and said that the cargo flights will begin very soon. What Azizi brought to the table is especially significant. Afghanistan has offered Indian investors 5-year tax breaks, free land and fast-tracked bureaucratic approvals for investments in mining, pharmaceuticals, textiles, agriculture, energy and construction.
हम मैसेज देते कि अफगानिस्तान बहुत अच्छी एक ग्राउंड है इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए, बेहतरीन एक ग्राउंड है जो हम उसको यानी ये समझते कि ये इन्वेस्ट के लिए एक जन्नत होगा.
It is also offered to lower import duties. Kabul has banned the import of Pakistani pharmaceutical products, calling them low quality, and instead seeks medicines from India. Afghanistan wants to expand cargo movement through the Chabahar port, calling it the most stable and predictable route for trade with India. To ensure this happens, both governments are appointing commercial attaches and reactivating working groups to scale up the trade. Meanwhile, trade is already rising. Bilateral trade was reported at roughly over $1 billion with an uptick in shipments routed via the Chabahar port and air corridors. Afghan dry fruits, saffron, figs, raisins, carpets and herbs are already arriving in India in higher volumes. Meanwhile, India is exporting everything from medicines, wheat, sugar, machinery to electrical goods, textiles and medical equipment into Afghanistan, all bypassing Pakistan. And all this is happening while the India-Iran-Afghanistan corridor via the Chabahar port is expanding rapidly. India now has a long-term agreement to operate terminals at Chabahar, currently under a US sanctions waiver. Cargo through Chabahar to Afghanistan has seen a steady rise year on year, and India and Iran are working on new multimodal facilities, warehouses and cold storage units. So strategically, Chabahar is already paying off for India in a big way, and it is already changing trade flows. For decades, Pakistan could rely on geography to exercise outsized influence over Kabul. A landlocked Afghanistan had no choice but to use Pakistani routes for most of its trade, giving Islamabad the ability to throttle flows, levy tariffs, and exert political pressure. Over time, that leverage hardened into a structural dependency. But bloody border conflicts, repeated border closures, arbitrary restrictions, and the harsh treatment of Afghan traders and refugees have ended that privilege. Tons of perishable cargo was left to rot at border checkpoints like Torkham and Chaman owing to border tensions, causing millions of dollars of losses to Afghan traders. The Taliban-led Kabul now says, enough is enough. No more dependence on Pakistan. The Taliban wants solutions to the Pakistan problem, and India is the obvious choice. The Afghan minister tacitly confirmed that Pakistan has blocked trade checkpoints at the border, blocked access to the Karachi port, and stopped trade flows with India through the Wagah border. Enter Chabahar, built up with Indian investment and diplomatic heavy lifting. The Iranian port is a functioning gateway that bypasses Pakistan entirely. India invested in terminals, port operations, and the logistics chain. It pushed for sanctions waivers that allow Chabahar to operate as a humanitarian and commercial lifeline for Afghanistan as well. The result? Goods can move from Indian factories to Chabahar by sea, cross into Afghanistan via the Zaranj-Dalaram highway, and onwards to Kabul and beyond. This multimodal corridor is insulated from Pakistani interference, and crucially, it plugs Afghanistan into broader Eurasian networks, including the international North-South transport corridor. Now, Pakistan's leverage is shrinking, but risks remain. Pakistan still controls geography on some routes and can escalate friction. Reports of Islamabad exploring proxies and the persistence of border incidents means that the transition will not be frictionless. Yet the combination of sea, land and air routes reduces Islamabad's effective chokehold. Bottom line is, India and Afghanistan are moving fast to scale up their economic relationship. Despite ideological differences, they see strategic pragmatism in joining hands. Taliban is facing a strategic crisis caused by recurring conflicts with Pakistan. Its economic dependencies are laid bare at this juncture as well. For Kabul, India is a crucial market, especially if Afghanistan wants to boost exports and earn much needed revenue. The two nations are aligning strategically as well, given their strained relations with Pakistan. So the stars are aligned. What needs to be ensured, though, is that this arrangement is not derailed, because let's admit, it is fragile. The Chabahar port is under a sanctions waiver from the USA's CAATSA sanctions granted in October, but only for 6 months, which means diplomats have their work cut out. Moreover, Pakistan's shenanigans are not going to stop. It is expected to try various tricks to undercut this trade using other proxy terror groups or loyalists within the Taliban. This means both sides must stay sharp and keep an eagle eye watch to protect this strategic shift.